So what I really wanted to go over today was the second book of the Demonata series. I don't have the book because I actually gave it away to a friend for her birthday one year. It's called Demon Thief, and it's also by Darren Shan. So it's the second book in the Demonata series. It's definitely different from Lord Lost by far. What's important to realize is that the Demonata series has 10 books in it, and they're all in first person, but they're not always in the first person of Grubbs Grady, which I was confused about when I started reading the second one. So I quickly realized that this wasn't talking about Grubbs Grady, and that this was taking place probably in the 60s or 70s, but he didn't quite get into it exactly, like what the time era was. But I really knew when it was the 80s because it jumped 6 years at some point during this novel, and it was like, whoa, now they're in the 80s, obviously, because of the music he was describing. Um, it was really interesting because before, you're reading, present day, like mid 2000s, like probably 2007 through 2010-ish, that type of scenario. So you knew it was around then. At the earliest, maybe 2005-ish, something like that. But that when it was in the 80s, it was really funny because you get to see some of the characters that were in the first novel, and you see, that they look different because of the 80s. They're wearing all different kinds of crazy hair, and it's really funny. You also get to see some characters that you don't see until like sixth, seventh, eighth book, stuff like that. So you get to be introduced to characters that Grubbs doesn't know until much later into the other books. So that's really cool. You get to know them. So once you're reading in Grubbs' point of view in a different book, and you're like, oh, I know these people. I remember them. They were in the second book. So that was really cool to see that. So this is in the point of Colonel Fleck. Colonel is described as, black. I'm not going to call him an African American because he's not American. So I don't know, African European maybe. I don't know what the political correct term is in the UK, but anyway, he talks about his life before all the interesting things happen. He mentions that he sees lights all the time, and he plays with them all the time. Nobody can see them, and people pretty much told him he was crazy for many years. Definitely hurt his feelings. He didn't really have any friends, and anybody who's been a teenager and felt like nobody cared about them, and maybe felt even suicidal in the first 20 pages will feel like Colonel understands them. This is really something important to read when you're that age because you feel like somebody understands you even though you're not Colonel. You almost feel like you understand everything he's going through. And when I was reading that, I was in one of those kind of depressive states, and when I read that, I just felt like I understand Colonel. I understand him and he understands me, and I fell in love with the character. He was such a great etched out character. Um, so it was interesting because Colonel has a younger brother named Art, and this monster comes to his town, um, and a bunch of people die. So, but the monster takes his brother. So Colonel does what any older sibling who truly loves their sibling would do. He runs into the portal after the baby boy. And so these other people who came and tried to destroy the demon, go back inside also. So now Colonel's with all these weird people who can do these strange things, who are important characters in the future books. And it's really crazy to see and understand the things he goes through. It also brings the element of chess back into play, and it's really, the element of chess is huge in this whole series. You see chess in every single novel mentioned. Chess is a huge thing, but you see it way more in the second book, and it really makes you understand the first book way better. I really liked it. It was definitely better than the first book. It was kind of dry in the beginning, but once the action started going, I couldn't put it down. So it took me more than a month to read because it was so boring in the beginning. I couldn't get through it, even though I really felt like I could understand the character. But it was just kind of boring in the middle. It was a very dry foundation, but about 50 pages or so into it, I could not put it down. It was so interesting and crazy, and the magic involved was so interesting. Um, if you like gore, if you like horror, if you like intricate endings and whatnot, this has a really crazy, surprising ending, and I didn't see it coming. Watch it, read it, get it. Bye.